Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Melissa, and if you're new here, if you want to learn more about astrology, please give this video a thumbs up, share, comment, subscribe. And currently trying to grow my very small channel at the moment, and it would really mean a lot if you could support me in those ways. Today I wanted to cover Pluto through all of the 12 houses. What does Pluto represent in the birth chart? If you don't know your birth chart yet, I will leave a link to how to calculate that in the description, so make sure you check that out, and make sure you look up your chart first before watching this video. What does Pluto represent in the birth chart? Pluto is where you will find your own personal power if you choose to take advantage of it, if you know how to use it to its full capacity. It also represents an area of your life where you can be fearful, and there's no way you can harness the power that Pluto can give you without facing your fears. Pluto, wherever you find Pluto in your chart, is where you can be afraid, where you can be paranoid of losing control, of people abandoning you, of just losing. And there's this darkness that surrounds that area of your life, and Pluto really makes you look at fear and darkness in the face, and it forces you to face your fears, or else if you don't, it'll just consume you. It will take control over you, because if you don't take control of Pluto, Pluto will control you. And it's really the only way that you can really become powerful and step into your own power. Pluto represents control, so wherever it falls in your chart is where you might have issues of control or obsession. You might be obsessed with this part of your life. You might find it very hard to let go of certain issues that pop up within that house, whatever that house deals with. There's also a very strong, fierce loyalty where Pluto is found in the chart. You guard that area of your life very well, very protectively. You can be very protective of that area of your life, and very strong-willed about how you go about handling that house's affairs. However it is that you choose to deal with that house is you're going to be very strong-willed about it, and it'll be hard for you to change your habits in that area. Again, like I said, if you don't control your own Pluto, it will control you. So that being said, let's get started with Pluto in the first house. You're very protective of your own self. You're highly guarded. You're highly suspicious of others. You put up a front just to protect yourself, and you don't really let other people through the surface of your personality. So although you can be extremely deep, and you may put up a persona that is quite the opposite of that, just because you don't want to be taken advantage of. Just the bottom line of Pluto in the first house is that you hide things. You will hide your true personality and just everything that makes you feel naked and vulnerable. That's the last thing that you want people to see about you. So you will appear very strong, appear very rigid, and just hard to get through to. So your opinions or your beliefs can be extremely strong-willed and very hard to persuade otherwise. Once you make up your mind about who you are, about what your opinions are, it's just pretty much set in stone, and you have really high suspicions towards people who try to change that or who try to contradict you. You can be very self-contained, self-possessed, just a really, really strong but private character. With Pluto in the second house, you hold very tightly to your possessions, whether that be actual material, physical possessions, or just your sense of security, your own self-esteem, whatever you hold on to in life that makes you feel secure, that anything that you value, anything that you place high value on in your life, you really do value your own personal control. You can feel insecure when you don't feel like you have your own personal power, and when you don't get to make your own choices. Being able to feel, the ability to feel powerful and to feel in control is something that you really hold in high regard and that you hold really strongly too. You can be very private about what it is that you own, what it is that you have, and anyone who does know what you do possess, you still cling really tightly to it. You're very hesitant with letting other people like borrow your things, or just very suspicious about letting other people take care of you, because your own power is having your own power. You see that as an asset, and you see your personal possessions as a form of power. It's a form of asserting yourself and just feeling powerful in yourself. Pluto in the 3rd house, you can be extremely secretive. Your thoughts are pretty much on lockdown 24/7. Although your mind is extremely sharp, your mind is so powerful, like it can cut through any type of BS that you come across. People better not try to lie to you, because you just see through all of it no matter what, and you're like a human lie detector basically. Whatever it is that you set your mind to figuring out, to trying to understand, whatever subject in school you wanted to commit yourself to, whatever research you were trying to do, you really put your whole entire heart and soul into it, and you did not give up until you got all the facts and all of the truth, 100% truth. You can easily become obsessed with certain skills that you have, or certain interests or hobbies. You just do not stop until you become the master at it. It can also be really hard for you to change your mind about something, because once your opinion is made up, you really stick to it, and one of the first thoughts that you might have about when you form judgments or opinions about things is that you're just automatically suspicious, and you definitely have a guard up. You're also extremely persuasive with other people. It's hard for them to get through to you and change your mind, but it's really easy for you to get other people to be on your side because of your gift of just speaking so powerfully and so eloquently. Now, Pluto in the 4th house, you can have trouble with letting go of the past. You really hold on to it. You really, like, if you say that something doesn't bother you anymore and you're like, oh, it's in the past, like I've forgotten about it, you really have not forgotten about it. It is still with you, and it will follow you until the day you die or until you really choose to face your own emotions, because most of the time with this placement, your emotions are extremely powerful, and your memory is extremely powerful as well. So it can be easy for you to let your emotions control you, to let your past control you, because if you have not faced it head on, if you have not faced your own emotions, your own internal reactions, and you just choose to suppress it, because Pluto can have the effect of suppressing whatever it touches, you are letting it control you, and you're really not over it. You're not over your emotions, you're not over the past or your memories, because you're just putting it to the side. You're pushing it down into your subconscious, or just pretending like it doesn't exist basically. You can be very loyal to your family, private about your family, and whatever goes on within your family or within your home, you just want your privacy 100%. You might be obsessed with learning about where you came from, learning about your past, what happened in your family history, who were your ancestors, where did you come from, what was like, let's say your family immigrated from another country. You might be obsessed with learning about the family history, like in their time, about your ancestral lineage. In your home or in your family, you might have been the black sheep. You might have been the one who is always like alone, the one who is always like dark and brooding, who pretty much kept to themselves all the time, and it was just like the mysterious one in your family. The mother may have been controlling, or the parents, either both of them or just mostly the mother figure, could have been very controlling, very private. She was like very mysterious to you. It may have been something dark or traumatic that has happened in the family in your past. whether you remember it or not. There was just something very controlling and dark and intense about the early home life growing up. Pluto in the 5th house, you could be very attached to what should be a very light, flirtatious, short-lived romance. Your affairs are actually quite intense. It's hard for you to take that area of your life lightly. You're very intense about your own hobbies, your own interests, whatever it is that you're passionate about. You could be very obsessed with it and just you want to perfect it. You want to be the master at whatever hobby or interest that is. You might be attracted to romantic partners who are dominating, who are kind of scary, who are intimidating, but people who are like in a position of power, people that you admire because of like their presence, because of how commanding and domineering they are. You might be attracted to that. You might be attracted to romances or affairs that have like a power play going on, where it's clearly either you're the one that's in power or it's them. You'll either play the extremely dominant one or the extremely submissive one. The types of entertainment you like to get yourself into or keep yourself busy with could be like the darker things, like scary video games, scary movies, scary books, or just like mysteries, like solving mysteries, investigative documentaries, serial killer documentaries, or something like that. You know, anything that really gets you thinking, gets your mind curious. You're very curious about anything that seems taboo or mysterious. When it comes to being in the spotlight, it's hard for you to really like let yourself shine. You're very private about your own self-expression, your own creativity. You could be very like obsessive about it, obsessive with your craft, your creative skills, but then like it's hard for you to share it with other people. You don't really like to be in the spotlight. When the spotlight is shown on you, you kind of like shrink back and get a little bit paranoid, get a little nervous, or you know, what will people think of me? Are people gonna like try to steal my artwork and or like judge me for my own abilities? With Pluto in the 6th house, you will gravitate towards jobs where you can be in control, where you can assert your own power, and you might prefer jobs that are sort of undercover. You might be very private about what it is that you do for a 9-to-5 job. You might experience control issues with coworkers or with people in your everyday environment, whoever it is that you're working with. You might be the one in the office who's always just like constantly keeping to themselves or just never reveals anything about themselves. That's sort of like the role you play in your job. You could also be a hypochondriac, quite preoccupied with your health, with keeping yourself physically active. You might enjoy strenuous activities or just anything that gives you a feeling of power in your own body, in your own health. You might be quite a perfectionist with your own self-image, your own body image and your health. You probably have a very strict everyday routine and health regime. Whatever it is that your health habits are, you're very much on top of it, and you can be obsessed with your own daily routines, whatever that might be. If it's going about your day in a very specific sort of random way that's very unique to you, you will stick to it, and you'll probably stick with it until you die. Like, it's just ingrained in your habits. Your habits are they work like clockwork, and it's hard for you to change them, period. With Pluto in the 7th house, your relationships may be very extreme. You could be drawn to partners who are quite powerful, quite aggressive, and also very secretive. You're probably drawn to people who don't give away too much of themselves at first, so you might be the type of person who will really investigate, really like research the person you're talking to, and you might be the type to get easily attached to or invested in the person that you just met. The side of you that is a little bit controlling, that is sort of preoccupied with having the upper hand, these are qualities in yourself that you are not always aware of, that you don't always identify as part of your personality. So it can come out when you are in a partnership, or you project those personality traits onto your partner, so that instead you are seeing it in them, rather than accepting it within yourself and accepting that these are also parts of yourself that you need to face, that you need to own and take ownership of. You might be projecting them onto other people. So your partners may indeed have those qualities of just being secretive and being obsessive and just needing to be on top all the time. When it comes to your one-on-one relationships, you do not reveal too much about yourself right off the bat. You prefer to be the one who is digging into the other person's past, the one who calls the shots, the one who says when the next stage begins, and who gets to decide when is the ending, when is the start of this relationship. You expect relationships to be dramatic. You expect them to be difficult, have some kind of challenges to an extent. You know, you don't take your relationships lightly at all. They are very deep, very intense. You do not like superficial relationships. You need them. You need to be with somebody who takes you very seriously and who is willing to go through it the long haul with you, and is willing to share their mind, body, and soul with you. That being said, it can be difficult for you to have just, casual acquaintances, because you see that as very shallow. It doesn't have the depth that you would like to have in your relationship. So it's easy for you to cut people off very easily, very quickly from the very beginning, and without really giving much of a chance. But on the other hand, you're also extremely loyal. Whoever it is that you commit yourself to, whether they're your friends or your loved one, your partner, you're extremely loyal, and you'll pretty much defend them and stay by their side until one of you dies, and probably even after that too. Pluto in the 8th house, you really keep your sense of power and just aggression really controlled and just very deep. These are not parts of your personality that you are very eager to share with others, so you hide it in your 8th house. You might pretend like it's not there, pretend like it doesn't exist until it comes out through your intimate relationships. You might be very preoccupied with seeing what you can get out of a relationship. The 8th house rules what is shared between you and a partner, or what it is that you can get from other people. So with Pluto here, you might try to control your partner's resources. You might try to control their psychology and try to, you would be an extremely skilled psychologist. Pluto is very much at home in the 8th house, and it is allowed to go deep. It's allowed to pursue its own power in the 8th house. The 8th house is pretty much all about inheriting power and searching for power, just looking for somewhere that you can control, and that's pretty much what Pluto is all about. So what you might inherit from a partner or from, your family, from other people, basically, is their trauma. It's their darkness, all their baggage, pretty much. This is what they're sharing with you, and they're basically sharing with you qualities of your own Pluto. You might gain a sense of power through your one-on-one relationships. When a family member dies and they leave something to you to have for the rest of your life, it could be your own sense of power, and all of a sudden you feel powerful. This is also a highly magnetic, highly sexual placement, just because Pluto is very much at home in the 8th house, and it does rule over sex and death and rebirth and all things taboo. You could have this very magnetic persona about you, and just this mystery that runs very deep, or this intensity that runs very deep. And so you have that aura that is just highly scorpionic. You might resonate high, you might really resonate with Scorpio traits just because of that natural association with Pluto in the 8th house, really matching each other's energies. With Pluto in the 9th house, your beliefs and your higher morals, the knowledge that you gain through higher learning and through learning about the world and through different societies are, this knowledge and these morals are extremely important to you. You do not think that anyone else knows better than you. You might be obsessed with trying to get other people on your side, trying to like evangelize your own beliefs, your personal beliefs onto others and getting them to subscribe to your own point of view. If you are a religious or spiritual person, your power lies within that. So you might be extremely influential as a teacher, as a guru, a guide, or some kind of spiritual leader. If you ever do have to teach something to someone, you'll be extremely effective and extremely impactful upon your student. When it comes to higher learning, you could be the type of student who was extremely set on mastering that subject, whatever it was that you were studying in university. You might have been so focused on it that you decided to become a teacher, that you obtained so much knowledge about it and mastered it so well that you decided to continue on to your master's and possibly even become a teacher. That's what Pluto in the 9th house does for you. It really makes you powerful in that area. If it's not being a powerful authority figure in the spiritual realm, as a spiritual leader, you will be a leader in spreading knowledge, in higher learning. And also, when it comes to your own personal beliefs and morals, these things could constantly be undergoing transformation with you throughout your whole life. You might be finding it necessary to let go of certain beliefs that you once held before, and you saw them as sort of like dusty and old, and you didn't really see any purpose of holding on to them any longer in your life, so you choose to throw them away and start all over with something new. So these things, your beliefs and your morals, could possibly always be changing throughout your whole life. With Pluto in the 10th house, your role in the public sphere and your reputation that you could possibly build for yourself, probably without trying, is one that is very private, but also one that is very powerful. I kind of think of like the Wizard of Oz, where his name was just spread everywhere and everybody knew him as this great and all-powerful being, but he was also really private about his real identity. No one really knew who he was or what he looked like, who he truly was as a person, and that's sort of like a Pluto in the 10th house. So you kind of control things from afar, from the safety of your own privacy. You're very private within your career. Similar to Pluto in the 6th house, you probably don't want to disclose too much about what's going on in your work life, but then at the same time, it's strange because that's the 10th house is your public reputation. How can you be private about your public reputation if it's what's spread out to the world and people know you for it? It's literally what's making you famous. It's sort of a contradiction to have Pluto in the 10th house because of that. It's, you don't really get to be private about your reputation unless you make your reputation one that is known to be private. Unless you make your own reputation that is very dominant, that is just very commanding, unforgiving, and you know how to get your way to the top. You know how to achieve success and to make a name for yourself. Whatever it is that you're passionate about and that you want to be successful in, you know how to get there, and you will fight till the death until you get to the top. It's like you are destined to be at the top, and you're destined to have that power, to be in that position of power and authority. You would do really well in a position of authority because you know how to get people on your side, you know how to command a room and be sure of yourself, be sure of your decisions and where it is that you want to go. You're extremely good at planning and like leading a group and just getting people to just sit up and pay attention to you, or else people will be scared of you and you'll give them something to be afraid of. People can have that impression of you, of just being really scared of you, and you do give off that persona of, or like that, have that reputation of just being super intimidating, because of your presence and your ability to just get what you want and basically your power. And also, on another note, your father figure might have been quite controlling. He might have always wanted to say in how you grew up. More than usual. Most fathers want to have a say in how you're raised and how you grow up. But with you in particular, your father figure might have tried to grow you in his footsteps, like as closely as possible. He might have wanted you to be like him. He might have helped you get a job and tried to like basically write out the rest of your life for you in a very like sharp and possibly controlling way. And with Pluto in the 11th house, your social circles and your friendships might have been an area of constant suspicion for you. You might have been the black sheep in your group of friends, or in your role in society is to be like the devil's advocate, the one who was sort of mysterious and just was always under the radar. You know, you never let people know too much about who you knew, about your own social contacts. You were not the type to kiss and tell. People don't always know what it is that you're after as far as your goals are concerned, as far as like what your intention is to like further improve society. You're very private about that, and yet you have the capacity to make such a huge impact and be such a powerful presence with improving society and just like being a leader within your group, within your organization. If you have a cause that you're passionate about, you really throw yourself full force, 100% into that cause, into helping society, and you have that capacity to make that difference in society. Your dreams and your goals are extremely powerful. Whatever visions you have for yourself, but also for like society at large, are extremely impactful, and you don't really stop until you achieve those goals. You are relentless when it comes to pursuing your dreams, and once you have a vision for something, for yourself or for the world, it's like nothing really stops you. You're extremely loyal as a friend. The 11th house rules over friendships and how you do your friendships. So once you make a friend, it's usually for life unless they wrong you, and then they're just like cut off completely. And it's hard for you to, it's like they're completely cut off from the club, from your group forever. You might be easily suspicious of who you choose to keep as a friend, and so you do tend to keep yourself at a distance, keep others at a distance until like they pass all your tests and they prove themselves to you. Pluto in the 12th house, I can see this placement as giving lots of or frequent nightmares, or just staying awake constantly at night and just being robbed of sleep because of your fears, because of your paranoia, and whatever worries you might have throughout the day is just basically what keeps you up at night. It's hard for you to really truly like relax in your own subconscious and just quiet your mind. Your mind and your solitude is never really resting. It's always very sharp and acutely aware of what's happening. So letting your mind be at peace is something that should be worked on. the 12th house rules like your inner world, your inner environment, and not always what you yourself are aware of, like as in the case of like the 4th house, because you are aware of the things that are going on in your 4th house. It's just you keep them really private and you keep it to yourself, and it is very close to your heart. However, the 12th house is more of what is hidden from you, because it's located in your unconscious. So you might not always be aware of your own power. You might not really easily identify yourself as being a powerful person or a person that can assert themselves and achieve their desires. Perhaps you feel most powerful and you know, in your own power when you have had enough alone time, when you have had a lot of rest, just time to yourself to quiet your mind, to like meditate, or however it is you choose to self-soothe and just recuperate, I guess you can say. You probably love being alone. You probably enjoy, either you love being alone and you love just having your own quiet private time, or you are so scared of being alone. You're scared of just being alone with your own thoughts, of like having to just sit with yourself and like face your own thoughts, your own like inner voice. It can scare you because those inner thoughts, your inner world, is plutonic. It can be dark, and your worries, the voice in your head can be extremely intense. It can be really paranoid, and just constant thoughts of suspicion, and just like, who's watching me, who is going behind my back, who is talking about me, who is planning to like overthrow my reputation. You might enjoy being alone if you know how to handle those thoughts, if you know how to face them and like be honest with yourself about those thoughts and learn to handle them constructively. Face what is the truth and what is just worries, what is just like wasteful worrying. When it comes to like matters that require you to like give of yourself, that require self-sacrifice, you know how to do that. You know how to deny yourself and deny your ego. It can be something that you eventually become a master at. If you're not scared of doing it, and if you don't allow that fear to control you, you can be really good at it, and you'll eventually realize your own power through being able to give up your own ego and help others, you know, show compassion. So that concludes this video of Pluto through all 12 houses. I hope you found it informative, and if you have, please consider supporting my channel by liking or giving this video a thumbs up, and subscribing and sharing any video that you found informative. Please leave a comment down below what your Pluto house is, and if you found what I've shared to be accurate or informative, please let me know, and I'll see you again soon.